Hi, my name is Gina Martin, and this is my submission to the Inova Child Life Practicum. For the first question, I feel like Inova offers the opportunity to observe several different units, and I personally don't know what units I click with most, so I like the idea of throughout the practicum experience getting to spend time in several units so I can really get a feel for where I fit best throughout this journey. And I like the idea that Inova's doesn't feel super rushed as other practicums do. It's kind of spread out throughout several weeks at a time. And I also like the idea that Inova is a nonprofit facility. Just from my personal experience working for nonprofits in the past, I feel that nonprofits are much more supportive in the workplace, and they allow for you to speak up and kind of have a voice, and that community collaboration piece fits in as well. For the second question, a time where I received constructive feedback was when I first started working in therapeutic foster care. I started during COVID, I would say. And so when I started, the precautions were huge and we were very careful. And as part of my role, I would take kids out of the home and bring them out into the community to expand on knowledge and gain experiences in the community and socialize them with other peers. Or I would supervise visits. But during that time, I would drop the kids off back at the home, and then I would call foster parents on the way home and say, hey, give them the rundown of the visit and everything that had happened. But I got a call from my supervisor just saying, hey, it's been about a year since you've been here and things are changing now. So the precautions aren't as ramped up as they were. So you can spend more time in the home, basically. And so instead of just dropping and running and calling on the way home or texting them, I would just stay and hang out in the home, and me and the foster parents were able to build on our relationship because we had more of those in-person conversations, which is important. For the third question, during my undergraduate degree, I led a teddy bear clinic with one of my classmates in a kindergarten classroom. And we had the germ washing station, which is very fun, a lot of glitter. So we explained the rules and expectations at the start of the activity, and it is a kindergarten classroom, so they were really excited. They saw the glitter and they were, whoa! But she had the germs and I had the washing part of the station. So they would go to her and then they would come to me and we would wash their germs off, and we got them engaged throughout the whole activity. So they really did a good job. There was about 4 at a time at each station. So I had 2 on my own, my classmate had 2, but they were super engaged and they were so curious at what was happening, and there was a lot of learning involved, but they were so curious about the glitter and how they were going to get it off and when they couldn't get it all off, they needed help. So it really went pretty smoothly, more smooth than I was expecting, I would say. It was a super fun activity. For the fourth question, I would reflect back on our time working together and, hey, remember when we did this? We've had such a fun time working together. I'm so excited that you get to go home. I will not be at your birthday party, but I can wish you a happy birthday on your way out, and just set those boundaries. For the fifth question, I would say this child is in Erickson's developmental stage, identity versus confusion. They're 12. They're trying to figure out who they are, and they most likely don't want to be in the hospital. It's going to cause a lot of attention. Peers are going to wonder, where are you? What's happening? Are you okay? And they're probably going to be pretty scared. They're also going to be missing out on extracurricular activities if they're involved, and they're going to miss that social piece of it. And especially if they're in the hospital for a prolonged period of time, they're going to need that socialization. So I would want to introduce them to peers in the hospital, get them involved in hospital activities and things like that to kind of get their mind off of things, but also give them that piece of privacy that they're going to be seeking too, because they are 12 years old, and try and normalize this as much as possible for them. For the 6th question, I've worked with birth through 15 pretty consistently, so I would say anything 15 and up I would want more experience with, just because I don't have a ton of experience with that age, and me being 25, I feel like I don't want to make kids feel uncomfortable. If it's like a 21-year-old male, I just don't want them to feel uncomfortable. So I definitely want more experience in that area so I can handle it well. For the 7th question, during my volunteer experience in the hospital, I was new to the hospital and everything that was happening, and I worked with a 13-year-old girl at the time, and I don't remember why she was there, but she was there for my whole volunteer experience. And so it was a pretty lengthy stay, and never once did I see any visitors or anyone hanging out with her, really. I just always remember she was super energetic, and she didn't want to stay in her room. She wanted to run around the hall and play, and I just always remember when I was on her floor, the nurses would not scream in a negative way, but get back in your room, like, you can't be out here, you're gonna slip and fall, and they were worried about her and probably had enough at that point. So if she saw me walking by on my way to a patient's room, she would stop me, but I would always make time for her each time I was at the hospital, because I knew how much it meant to her, just me sitting there and watching her do an activity, or sometimes she would want me to participate with her. Just she liked to make up stories, so I would just sit there and listen to her stories and spend that quality time with her that she didn't get from other people. So that was a very special experience. For the 8th question, this question is tough because I feel like there's a lot of goals for Child Life. I would say the first being help children understand what's going on to the extent they're able to, because they are the ones going through this, and it is going to affect them. It might affect them long term, hopefully not, but hopefully we can make a positive impact so they don't come out of the hospital with extended trauma from this experience, because they did not choose to be here. And the second being teaching them to be an advocate for themselves is huge, because this is something that they can take on throughout the rest of their life. And not only teaching the child to advocate, but teaching the parents to be an advocate for their child if the child is too young to speak up on things. And then lastly, just being the emotional and psychological support for them throughout this time being in the hospital is super important as well. For the 9th question, I would say teaching children to be resilient. They amaze me every time I work with them with their resilience. I don't know how they do it, but just empowering them throughout this time and letting them know that, you know, it's okay and they'll be okay, and we are here to support them and make a positive impact in this time for them. And I think the second thing is building connections, working with children and families. That's one of my favorite things, is to build connections and kind of learn about them and the family dynamics, and learn about the children's interests, and just seeing them smile is huge, because this is going to be difficult, and I think those are the little things that you can get out of it that make me smile, at least. For the last question, my strengths, I would say the first being communication and collaboration with team members. I work really well as part of a team, and I like the idea of that collaboration, because if I'm not thinking of something, it's nice to have someone else say, hey, like, this is a great idea, you should try this. and just working together is so important. And for the second thing, I would say my work ethic. I put my all into my work when I find something that I love, and this is something that I feel super passionate about. I'm able to work in stressful work environments. I kind of like that part of it, oddly enough. And the third thing being my adaptability to situations. I'm able to think of new ideas on the spot, and I know not everything is going to go to plan with each child. So it's great to have ideas, but sometimes you need to think of other things, and I'm able to do that. For the two things to improve on, I would say I'm self-critical, so chances are if I've done something wrong, I've caught it and I already realize what it is and I know what I need to do to fix that. And then the other thing, which I am working on, but it's tough, is taking work home with me. I tend to think about what I could have done better, how we could improve, and I lay in bed at night thinking about, oh, I should have done that, or tomorrow I'm going to do that, and I'm working on trying to not do that as much so I can just decompress and stay stress-free. And those are all 10 of my questions. Thank you for your time.